Hi, in this tutorial we're going to go over how to create a speedometer. So firstly we're just going to create the graphics and then we're going to create a widget and combine everything together and basically make it work with the car. So first thing that I did was create these three elements and I'll also imported them in Unreal. So they are generally pretty easy to create. So in Photoshop, to create this gradient that you're going to use for basically selecting the red zone for the speed meter. And to create something like this, so what I did in Photoshop is just create a black layer and then double click in the empty space and it will open layer style. And in here you can go to gradient overlay and just set it to angle and just default gradient, and this should make everything work. If you don't have some default settings in here, you can just reset everything to default and reset alignment, and you can click in here and you should see a normal gradient in here. And yeah, that's about it. You can just create this, export it, and import in Unreal. And next thing is also this needle for the speed meter, which I just used a simple triangle, created a shape, and since I have some snapping options in the, let me see where that was, in the view. Since I have some snapping options, I can easily just snap it in here and set it right in the middle. And we need this to be in the middle, so if we select both of them, so you can see how our needle rotates in the middle. And the last thing in here is that we have the speed meter background, and then we can I also just align the needle to kind of be at the right position, so we can easily animate it to go from here to basically around this point. Okay, so let's create our material. So let's right click in here, click on material. Let's name it speed meter. Open it up. First we need to change this to user interface. And now let's import our textures. And we're going to need three textures for this. So first we're going to need our gradient. Then we'll need our speed meter background, and the last one we are going to use is our needle. Now what we are going to do is basically use this to determine where our line of kind of transparency will go, and we want to use if node to basically be on or off. So is it red zone or is it not the red zone? Since we don't want everything to be basically, we don't want any gradient between white and red. So first let's do a constant and name it zone threshold, and this is basically a threshold that we are going to use for this. And let's connect also the color. And the next thing that we need is basically this is going to pick between A and B, and we need this to be on the A, and then we need multiply in here. We're going to use multiply to basically get to add color to this surface. So let's type constant, and in here we don't need to convert this. Let's click on the color and let's add a red in here. Let's connect it in here and set it up like this. Let's connect it here. Now everything should be white, the same as if we just connected this texture. But if we move this zone, we should get a bit of red. And we can see that we are getting some red. Now we don't want it to cut in there, so we want to basically cut it maybe in here. So we have these huge nudges, and I think this one is appropriate for something like this. So we need something less than this, so let's say 0.9 maybe. Oops, 0.09. A bit less, maybe 0.08. And that looks good. Now that we have this part covered, what we want to do is now create this needle that will basically move forward and backward. So let's first type add, and we need to combine these two together, so let's first do that. And this way we have both of them in the scene. And now we need basically to rotate the needle. If we connect this, we can see it's rotating kind of. Not the way we want, but it's rotating. And if we see for this rotator, we have some options in the details, and that is center X and Y, which is in the middle. And we, as you saw in the Photoshop, we made it right in the middle, so this should all work fine here. And you can see here, test it out, just watch for a while. But we also need it to go the other way, so let's do -1 to give us the appropriate movement. And now we're going to do linear interpolate. And we are going to use this instead of just this all moving time, because we got our custom parameter to move this. So let's create constant. Let's right click, convert it to parameter, name it RPM, and let's connect this to alpha. Now we're going to use this number to basically move stuff. Now you can see that our stuff is moving, but it is not moving. We could be moving it like this, but we want to just use number from 0 to 1 or normalized RPM to move this, so it would be easier to kind of reuse it. So let's first see what number we need in here. So if we put, so I'm trying to kind of hit this part. So if we put 4.4, doesn't hit the right spot there. 4.25 maybe. 2.2. Let's do 2.2. So let's copy this number and we are going to use it in here. And then if we set this to 1 and just clamp this to 0 to 1 just in case, we should be getting the right number. And to test this out to see if this is actually the number that we need to get, let's type time. We can just kind of animate it ourselves. Let's type sine, so it goes forward and backwards. And let's type constant bias scale. This one. Let's connect it. And we can see we are getting the movement basically that we want in here. We can also add another thing in here, which is multiply. No, this is of course just for testing, but let's leave it for now. Let's delete this. We need constant 3 vector. And if we put this to, let's say, yellow, we could be changing colors like this. And we can do another thing in here. If we add another multiply in here, let's say for some reason we want this color to be here, and then we can just change to whatever color we want. Let's see which color suits. Maybe something like this. Let's do a bit brighter blue. Maybe something like that. So you could also add any color you want in here. So yeah, let's bring this back. So we have, so we can actually drive this with our constant. Let's actually we can leave this just for testing if you want it. But yeah, this is it for the material. In the next tutorial, we are going to go over how we can actually connect this parameter with our speed of our car.